Hello, welcome back to the Recovery Channel and week 3 of our video series on recovering from addiction. Please help us spread the word that recovery is possible. Today, you can do that by subscribing using the link in the lower right-hand corner of the screen. This week, we're going to talk about one of the first things we need to do in recovery, and that is to address denial. We'll talk about what it is, how it affects us, how to identify it, and most importantly, how to get out of it. Then, as we do every week, I'll be giving you a recovery tool and some homework. The definition of denial is refusal to admit the truth or reality of something. In psychology, it's a defense mechanism in which confrontation with a personal problem or with reality is avoided by denying the existence of the problem or reality. In recovery, I like to say it's simply the absence of rigorous honesty. The common theme here is that denial prevents us from seeing reality as it is. Now write this down. Denial. Don't even know I am lying. So why is understanding denial an important first step? It's important because while we're in denial, we're not seeing or accepting reality as it is. If we can't see reality for what it is, then we probably won't be able to admit we have a problem. If we can't admit that we have a problem, then there's no reason to change, and we'll keep on doing the things that are not good for us. You can't heal a wound by saying it's not there. It seems so simple to see reality for what it is, doesn't it? In our mind, we've been seeing reality for what it is forever, right? Because it's our own version of reality and it seems perfectly normal to us. Facing denial requires us to change how we view the world and view reality. That's really hard to do because we spend a lifetime building up coping skills and defenses in order to survive. They become an integral part of our thinking. Unfortunately, those skills don't serve us well in adulthood, and we have a hard time seeing them because they're a part of our wiring. They distort how we see the world and how we interact with it. We distort information coming in. Once it's in, we distort it even more. Then how we react is even more distorted. It's a heavy concept to grasp, so let me give you an example. Let's say you grew up in a house where there was never enough food, and you had several siblings, all older than you. By the time the bowls of food got around to you, there was very little or nothing left. Once you complained about it, and in response from your drunken father, he said, "You just shut up or you won't get any food at all." The coping skill you might have learned in that moment is that you better eat food whenever you get the chance because you never know when it's not going to be available again. And you better learn to take care of yourself because you can't trust anyone else to do it. The coping skills you develop would make you resourceful, independent, and self-sufficient to help you survive a hungry childhood. But as an adult, you live in a distorted reality. You think that no one can be trusted, even though you have good friends. You think you need to hoard food and accumulate belongings because they could run out at any time, even though you have a good job. You might be afraid to ask for help, selfish, self-centered, manipulative, and lacking in compassion and authentic concern for others. Not consciously, but because the coping skills you developed are now a part of your makeup. You don't really choose to be selfish, but something inside you thinks you need to be selfish in order to eat, to get what you need to survive. Okay, so I have some junk. Maybe there is stuff left over from my childhood. What does that have to do with my addiction? Everything. Phil is going to get into more details on that next week, but it's all that stuff we're carrying around that makes us addicts. Picture yourself carrying around the bag of stuff for your whole life. The bag is full of resentment, anger, fear, childhood trauma, and the list goes on. Over your life, that bag gets to be very heavy. So heavy it hurts, and we need to relieve our pain relieve our pain of carrying it around for so long. So we self-medicate. We use our medication of choice, whether it be drugs, alcohol, food, internet porn, whatever makes us feel better at that moment. No one chooses to be an addict. Let's take that kid again. His home life is stressful, with dad being drunk all the time and mom never around. To cope, he develops a really good imagination and spends a whole lot of time making up stories where he is a brave soldier or gallant knight slaying dragons. He finds comfort in this land of make-believe because he's in control and he can be whoever he wants. It gives relief from the hostile reality of this world today. Then he gets a little bit older and discovers alcohol. Now he doesn't need to make up stories anymore. Comfort comes quickly and easily after a few drinks, and the pain goes away. A few years of this, and he's become just like his dad. So we've constructed this elaborate set of tools to survive. You can think of denial as the heavy-duty locked toolbox that protects the tools. In our mind, we believe that we still need our coping skills in order to survive. They've gotten us this far, haven't they? As long as we can hold on to them, we'll be safe. If we start to see reality for what it really is, we start to see the truth. When things aren't so distorted, then these coping skills might not work anymore. They don't even make sense. And then where will we be? Denial is the stronghold that keeps all of our dysfunctional coping skills safe. But the reality is that our coping skills, including our addictions, are not serving us well. They are keeping us from the true joy that life has to offer. Life lived in the real world, a life where we can feel our emotions and not be drowned by them. A life where pain can be tolerated and not turned into suffering. A life where we can accept the love and support that is being given to us rather than distrusting and dismissing it. A life where we don't have to carry around that stuff anymore. But how do we know if we're in denial when we're in denial? It's not easy. Remember, I asked you to write this down. I don't even know I am lying. It's like trying to look at yourself without a mirror. Let's start by listening to what denial sounds like. Think about if you find yourself thinking or saying these things or something close to it. I don't have a problem. I have a right to drink. I don't drink as much as some of my friends. My drinking isn't that bad. It's okay that I got hammered. It was my birthday. If you weren't such a nag, I wouldn't have to drink. I'm not hurting anybody but myself. I don't need anyone's help. I got this. You should have seen me last year. I'm an adult and I can make my own decisions. Another way to know if you're in denial is if others are telling you that you have a problem. You may not be able to see it yourself, but others can. It's easy to get defensive when confronted. Remember, denial is our stronghold. Sometimes the only defense is to get defensive. But consider for a minute if maybe they're right. Finally, honestly take a look at the consequences of your actions. Is your habit getting you into trouble with the law? Have you lost a job or a relationship because of it? Are you partaking in your habit when you should be doing something else, like working or spending time with your kids? We are not here to shame anyone. We simply want you to be free from the stronghold of denial and get help. The first step to getting help is to break out of denial. But how do you do that? Like I promised you in the introduction video, we're going to try to keep this as practical and easy to follow as possible. So I'm going to start with the easiest way to get out of denial. Then I'll give you something that's a little tougher, but it gets at the root of the addiction. So the first thing to look at is the consequences of your habit. Are they getting you into trouble? Causing health issues? Pushing the people you love away? Are you angry or depressed a lot? Do you have any motivation to do anything besides the habit? And can you say that it's likely the habit that is causing these things? If you can answer these questions honestly, you just took your first step towards breaking out of denial. The next one is a little bit tougher to think about. So take some time on this one and write down your thoughts. Better still, talk them through with someone you really trust and who won't try to fix you, but just listen. If you can afford it, a therapist is the best option for this. Remember those coping skills we talked about? Those typically come from fear. So ask yourself, what is it that I'm afraid of? Is it that you're going to be left alone? That you're not lovable? That if you let someone see the real you, they won't like you? That you'll never fulfill your dreams? That you're not good enough? Once you have a couple of these things identified, write down the following sentence and really give it some thought. Does it feel true to you? I fill in the blank with your medication of choice to numb or avoid the pain I feel inside. The pain I feel inside comes from my fear of, this is where you put your list of fears. For example, that kid we talked about before might write, I drink to numb or avoid the pain I feel inside. The pain I feel inside comes from my fear of never having enough. If you're being honest, open, and willing, that's how the program will work for you. Now write that down. I need to be honest, open, and willing to do whatever it takes. That's how it works. If you can do that, you're not only coming out of denial, but you're starting to identify the things that made you an addict. That's going to help you start to combat the guilt and the shame that comes along with and strokes and feeds your addiction. It will also help you when we get to step 4. Through this program, we are going to replace those ineffective old coping skills that are in your toolbox now with a new set of tools. Your recovery tool this week is actually 2 things. First, I want you to add to that list of affirmations Phil had you do last week. I'm going to be nice though, a little bit nicer than Phil, and just give them to you. There will be no soul searching required. And here they are. 1, I am not a victim. 2, I am capable of change. And 3, I believe in myself. Remember, you're reading these to yourself every morning, and you can keep adding to the list as you discover new things about yourself. The second tool is to buy yourself a written guide through the 12 steps. It will help you to have a workbook that guides you through the steps and the process. It gives you a place to journal as well. These videos are great, but you need all the tools you can get. You'll get the workbook that makes sense for your particular addiction. So are you listening? You paying attention? So your homework for this week is to add those items to your morning affirmations and to acquire a workbook. We've provided several links in the comments to help you find a book that works for you. We're not in this for the money, but our work does require resources. So please use our links to purchase the workbook if you can, as that helps us help you. Again, please subscribe below, and we'll see you next week.